Reading this morning from Canto 10, chapter 59, the killing of the demon Naraka. And we'll be chanting together verse number 17, and then 18, 19, and 20. But we'll chant together 17. 10:59, 17. Yani yodhai prayuktani shastrastani kurudvaha haristanya chachinat tikshnai Sharair ekai kashash tribihi Yani yodhai prayuktani Shastrastani kurudvaha Haristanya chinat dikshnai Sharair ekai kashash tribihi Yani yodhai prayuktani Shastrastrani kurudvaha Haristanya chinait tasnai Sharai ekai kashash tribihi Yani yudhai prayakshani Shastrastani kurudvaha Haristanya chinat tikshnai Sharai ekai kashash tribihi Yani yudhai prayuktani Shastrastrani kurudvaha Haristanya chinait tikshnai Sharai ekai kashastribihi Yani yodhai prayuktani Shastrastrani kurudvaha Haristanya chinat tashnai Sharair ekai kashastribihi Yani those which yodhai by the warriors prayuktani used shastra cutting weapons astrani and missile weapons kuru udvaha O hero of the kurus King Parikshit Harihi Lord Krishna Tani them achinat cut to pieces Tikshnai sharp Sharai with arrows Ekashaha each one Tribihi with three, and then the translation that's word for 17, and the BBT translators have grouped 17, 18, 19 together. Lord Hari then struck down all the missiles and weapons the enemy soldiers threw at him, O hero of the Kurus, destroying each and every one with three sharp arrows. Meanwhile, Garuda as he carried, the Lord struck the enemy's elephants with his wings, beaten by Garuda's wings, beak, and talons. The elephants fled back into the city, leaving Narakasura alone on the battlefield to oppose Krishna. And 20 is also assigned for this morning. I'll just read the translation. Seeing his army driven back and tormented by Garuda, Bauma attacked him with his spear, which had once defeated Lord Indra's thunderbolt. But though struck by that mighty weapon, Garuda was not shaken. Indeed, he was like an elephant hit with a flower garland. So there's no purport here in the BBT publication, but I'm going to read to you the commentaries of our acharyas that are available. And we'll start with (17), (18), and 19. Here's Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur's commentary for 17. After describing cutting up the arms of the enemy's troops, cutting up their weapons is here described. Astras are arrows and other missiles, and the shastras are swords and other hand weapons. One by one, he, that's Krishna, shot down each weapon with 3 arrows. Before the weapons thrown could reach their target, he had killed the throwers of the weapons and then destroyed the missiles while they were still in the air, each with 3 arrows. And the arrows were shot one after the other, not 3 at once. So quick was Krishna to shoot that in amazement Shukadev Goswami cried out, "Oh, Kurudwaha, Parikshit!" Such swiftness had not been conceived by any of the Kurus, such as Bhima and Arjuna, though they had been taught by Krishna. That was Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And here's Jiva Goswami in his commentary for all 3 verses. Shastra means swords, etc., and astrani means arrows, etc., missiles. The Lord was carried on Garuda, who flew here and there with great speed and ease. This appeared most glorious and indicates Garuda's power. Though he was carrying the Lord, with his wings he beat the elephants. From this it is understood that the fighters were not riding elephants. The elephants were situated separately. Some were killed and some injured. Naraka, remaining in the battle, continued to fight. This indicates that he was fearless. And Sanatana Goswami, in these 3 verses, writes, same. Now, Jiva Goswami, just a comment on the commentaries. Jiva Goswami was requested by Sanatana Goswami to edit his Vaishnava Toshni, which is a commentary on the 10th canto. Jiva Goswami obliged, and he made commentary on those same verses, much of which is included in Sanatana Goswami's commentary, but it's his own commentary. And you'll recognize some of what Jiva Goswami wrote in what Sanatana Goswami writes. Shastra means swords, etc., and astrani means arrows, etc. The Lord was carried on Garuda, who flew here and there with great speed at ease. This appeared most glorious and indicates Garuda's power. Very same. Though he was carrying the Lord with his wings, he beat the elephants. Same. From this it is understood that the fighters were not riding on elephants. Same. The elephants were situated separately. Same. Some were killed and some were injured. Same. Then it becomes different. He attacked those in front with his beak, those on the sides with his wings, and those behind with his claws. This shows his speed and prowess. Naraka, this is the same again. Naraka, remaining in the battle, continued to fight. This indicates that he was fearless, since he stayed after the elephants and troops were all defeated. Okay, so that's commentary from our three acharyas. And then text 20. The BBT publication has no commentary. There's short commentary by two. Vishwanath writes, seeing Boma with the lance in his hand, Satyabhama said, kill him quickly. Therefore, Krishna killed him then. No Sanatana Goswami commentary, but Jiva Goswami writes, Naraka saw his troops scattered since they were afflicted by Garuda. He saw the troops somewhat scattered and somewhat afflicted. The army suffered because the elephants were their mainstay and had fled. Struck by the weapon, Garuda did not feel pain, or he did not shake. A condition is indicated by its external symptoms. Thus, Garuda did not move or did not shake from his place and his determination. So, battle scenes. There's a couple of background comments. In verse 20, it's mentioned here that Boma attacked Krishna with his spear, which had once defeated Lord Indra's thunderbolt. So, a little background. This chapter 59, begins with an appeal being made by Indra to Krishna. And the appeal that was being made by Indra to Krishna was, help, because the demigods, including Indra, had been attacked by Naraka. And Naraka defeated, it's not the first time, there are incidents where the demons attack the demigods, which means demons they were powerful in many ways. They could travel from one planet to another. They had powers of mystic powers from their demoniac activities of austerity, etc., etc. So they had great power. So from time to time, the demigods are attacked by the demons. And in this case, Naraka was attacking, we'll assume, I don't know the detail, with armies, but at least he was there, and he defeated the demigods. Specifically, I don't know the detail, but it's mentioned here that his spear, Naraka had a spear, and his spear was more powerful than Indra's thunderbolt. Indra's thunderbolt is pretty powerful. Thunderbolts are powerful. And the spear was more powerful and defeated Indra's thunderbolt. So that very same spear, back to the background. Because when he went there, he stole many things. And one of the things that he stole was Aditi's earrings. And the earrings are not just like they're ornaments, but they're more than ornaments. They were effulgent and um, divine, or invested with demigod powers, and he wanted them, so he stole them. Now, later, after Naraka is defeated, one of the things that the mother, Mother Earth, does is she returns the earrings to Krishna and Satyabhama so they can take them back to the demigods. But because he's killed, what about the earrings? So his stolen property was given back to Krishna. And going way back, way back, how did Naraka, who is the son of Krishna and or Varaha, the son of Varaha and Mother Earth, because when Varaha rescued the earth from the bottom of the Garbadak Ocean and placed the earth back in the right place through contact, doesn't give the description of exactly how that happened, but a son was born to Mother Earth in the name of Bhauma, as the son of Bhumi. So Bhaumasura or Narakasura, two names for the same person, should be good. And let's think about this for a moment. When did this event of the earth being rescued from the bottom of the Garbadak Ocean by Lord Varaha, when did it take place? It took place long before Krishna appeared. Long before Krishna appeared. Because Hiranyaksha and Hiranyakashipu were in previous yugas. Since Satya Yuga. We don't know exactly which yuga cycle, but at least Satya Yuga. And here we are in 2 yugas later, and he's still around. So he lived a long time. Well, he lived until he got killed. And Naraka became corrupted by association with Bana. And Bana was the son was the eldest of 100 sons who were sons of Bali. Now, how long ago did Bali? Long, long before. Long, long before. Bali Maharaj. If I remember correctly, it's not only a different Yuga cycle, but a different Manu. The research that I did on this was, it's the Manu number 6, and this is during Manu number 7. So long, long before. So Bali became a resident by Vamana's arrangement. Bali became a resident of Sutala. And according to the Bhagavatam and other places, he's still there, enjoying opulence that's superior to the opulence of Lord Indra. And Vamana, who promised to be his gatekeeper, is still there. And it is said elsewhere that in the next Manu, that same Bali will become the next Indra. In other words, he lives a long lifetime, Bali. But Bali was a great personality, but his son was not a great personality. His son, Bana, was like the family line in which he was born. He was demoniac. Because Bali was the son of Virochana, who was the son of Prahlad, who was the son of Hiranyakashipu. And Hiranyakashipu was a demon. And 4 generations later, Bana had demoniac disposition, although his father was one of Mahajans, great Vaishnava, great Vaishnava. But sometimes it happens. And so I'm mentioning this because these are Vedic histories and they're a little hard to trace because they're not all in one place, but you have to keep searching and slowly the puzzle pieces start to fit together. One of the reasons for that puzzle is the composition of the Puranas, while it's actual history, it's not chronological. It's a little bit this and then a little bit something over there, a little bit something over there. Whereas the itihasas are specifically chronological. And they stay on the thread of a family line, whereas the Puranas don't. They go all over the place. This, that, the other, the other, the other. And so to be knowledgeable in Puranic history, one has to be very well read and very patient because something over here doesn't necessarily conform with something over there. So it's hard to understand. At times it's hard to understand. So going back to the story here, Narakasura, who had been corrupted by Bana, had become a big demon. And by nature, demons are opposed to Vishnu, and opposed to Vishnu includes being opposed to the Devas. So the demigods and the Devas regularly have battles. There's many, many, many descriptions in the Puranic histories of battles. And one of those was a battle where Naraka, he defeated the demigods, but doesn't say what he did after he defeated them other than stealing things, like Aditi's earrings. At least I'm unaware of the Puranic reference where after he was the battle itself and after the demigods were defeated, what did he do? Because there are examples like Hiranyakashipu taking over the kingdom of Indra, displacing Indra. Indra was displaced. And to get his kingdom back, he made an appeal to Vishnu of help. So he helped. Hiranyakashipu was finished. So there's our description of this section of chapter 59, the battle between Naraka and his armies. Garuda had a big role to play. I'll mention this one other thing. It doesn't say that he felt pain when Garuda was inflicted by missiles and things shot at him by Narakasura's army. It doesn't say he felt pain, but he tolerated it. It says specifically he felt no pain. Although the missiles, means arrows, were striking his body. Rather, it says it felt to him like a garland in the body of an elephant. That's certainly not painful. So Garuda is very, very powerful. Naturally, he's directly engaged in service to Krishna. He is with him there in Dwarka, and whenever Krishna needs to go somewhere, he's got his conveyance, that's Garuda. Krishna has other conveyances that's also described. Nice description because it's a short, there's no purport in the BBTs, it's just what these other commentaries say. In Brihat Bhagavatamrita, in describing the life of Kaliya and the incident with Krishna dealing with the Kaliya serpent, there are different yuga cycles and there's different outcomes with Krishna's dancing on the hoods of the Kaliya serpent. And it is said that Kaliya, in some cases, exists with Krishna in the spiritual world. And Kaliya, during Krishna's pastimes in this world as well as in the spiritual world, Kaliya acts as a carrier to carry Krishna from one place to another, like Garuda specifically. So although he was bad, he became purified by the touch of Krishna's feet and by the mercy of his very qualified wives. Because of them, he got such mercy. And in that mercy, he became freed from his contamination. And in some cases, he actually gets the opportunity to serve Krishna as one of Krishna's carriers. He carries him from one place to another. Apparently, water travel. Very, very, it's not imaginative, but it's hard to imagine. But these personalities have powers that we don't have access to, and therefore it seems fanciful. But it's not fanciful, it's just historical record. As Sadhaputta puts it, why would Vyasadeva, who is so knowledgeable in everything, including, let's say, knowledgeable about the process of creation and cosmology, that he's going to write stories that are just imaginative and fanciful? Not Vyasadeva. Of course, that's reasonable conclusion, but he doesn't write fanciful things. He's not a creative writer. He's he's presenting knowledge of the Vedas correctly. Higher beings have powers that are quite amazing. The goal of bhakti life is not to become a demigod and have amazing powers, amazing knowledge, and amazing opulence. Although that exists, and many people are attracted to those types of things. But the far greater is becoming attracted to, and more even becoming attached to, becoming a profound devoted servant of the Supreme Lord in whatever capacity he wants. And that's the most exalted attainment. And the Bhagavatam is encouraging us to reach that position. See if there's some discussion.
Hare Krishna Sharma Baswami. I just, noticed that, Garuda is associated as a carrier of Lord Vishnu. And in Krishna's Leela, this is one of the few instances in which Krishna uses Garuda as a carrier.
Yes.
And in general, we hear is that Krishna mounts, a chariot with, white horses and this and that. So, does it have a significance sometimes that Krishna display his full opulence as, Lord, the Lord of Vaikuntha, Lord Vishnu, and at times, doesn't do that? Uh,
Everything is for his pleasure. That's the starting point. And sometimes it suits his pleasure this, and sometimes it suits his pleasure that. And it happens in Vaikuntha as well. And it happens in Dwarka as well with Garuda. Sometimes and sometimes. There's what suits his pleasure. There in the I find it remarkable, so I'll share it. In the commentary of our Acharyas, it's not directly in the Bhagavatam, and perhaps it's in one of the other Puranas, but when Krishna gets alerted that the four Kumaras are at the gate of Vaikuntha and they've cursed Giant Vijay, so that's already an event, and he comes to know. Doesn't say how he comes to know, he's omniscient anyways. He's in such a hurry to go, he leaves his chappals and he comes on the back of Garuda. So Garuda is standing there because Garuda is quick, but Krishna doesn't need anything. He just gives service sometimes, and sometimes he doesn't need, he just transports himself. So that's even in Vaikuntha, Garuda becomes his carrier. Sometimes in Vaikuntha, and sometimes in Dwarka. So he's there. Krishna does things without Garuda, but sometimes Krishna does things with Garuda. Sometimes he comes in a chariot. Sometimes he doesn't even need a chariot.
I sort of remember the time that we visit Sri Rangam, and then there's the processions of uh, um, Lord Ranganath or the Pratibhuditis taken into different carriers. Sometimes it's Garuda, sometimes it's Hanuman, sometimes it's a horse, sometimes it's a lion,
Yeah,
and it's just very beautiful. And then the carriers have different movements according to the different carriers.
yeah, that's nice.
It's very beautiful to watch, and I'm seeing very pleasurable for the Lord.
Yes. And those that are doing it, they depend on their elevation, but there's a ritual involved, and there's more to the ritual involved. There's a deep devotional mood for those who are mature in their devotional life. They experience something that's according to that mood of the festival. Reciprocation between the Lord and his devotee. Anything else? Yes?
This kind of method of warfare where there's arrows and spears and shields, then usually, I suppose, if an arrow is aimed at somebody's body, then the opposing person will put up a shield to prevent the arrow from piercing or severing or whatever. So if in the case of Garuda he's having a spear thrown at him by Balma, the fact that, I mean, it says that the spear struck him, but one imagines that there would be some sort of mystic shield that he would have that would keep him safe. So if it's not a literal shield, I'm thinking because in one of the verses earlier, there was mentioned that maybe in the previous chapter that his warriors had a mystic shield around their hearts. So I was just thinking, because you were just touching on the powers of the higher beings. So I was just thinking, it's not a literal shield, but could there be some sort of mystic protective barrier?
Yeah, you're presenting as a question, but it's an assumption. I mean, it's included somehow. What that somehow is isn't specified, but somehow there are powers by which he was protected from what for a normal person would be, you know, impossible. Or now, having said that, there are certainly pastimes where it appears that the devotees of the Lord are afflicted by something of this world. I mean, Lakshmana, it happened twice. And then the serpent weapons, the whole army was, this is in Ramayana, the battle in Lanka. All the armies were tied up with ropes of serpents. So Garuda came, and seeing Garuda, the serpents disappeared because they were mystical entities. But how can a mystical entity tie up or afflict Ram and Lakshman? Because they were also tied up by the serpent arrows. And so it's there's I'm going off a little bit, but sometimes protected and sometimes apparently not protected, sometimes afflicted. And when you're in service to the personality of Godhead, you're ready for anything because anything could happen, especially very elevated souls. Yeah. Vali was protected by a certain pendant that he was wearing, and Vibhishan told Ram that Ravan can't be killed because he has something, something, something in his heart, and even whenever he's afflicted, he regenerates his vitality, etc. So you have to pierce that substance that's in his heart, and then he'll be finished. So who knows? What different arrangements, but they have powers that come as a result of benedictions received. In the case of material benedictions by powerful persons, or in the case of Garuda, it's not just by austerities, it's something, it's Krishna gives him some protection. And however that protection is arranged, specific for one devotee or another devotee of Krishna, there's protection. And then that's his Leela. Yogakshema Vahamyam. Yeah. Nice question. Nice question.
Uh, we know the power of the association of devotees, especially the perfected beings, perfect devotees.
Yeah.
In the case of what to speak of the personality of Godhead, in the case of Narakasura, who was the son of Varaha and Bhumi being, an expansion of Bhu, and the Bhu potency of the Lord. So, and Banasura, who was the son of Bali, who is so is a very sobering
Yes.
Fact that even with that type of association, one can, end up being a demon. So it's a little confusing
Oh, it's not
in one sense.
confusing. It's a principle. The principle is aparad is real stuff. And when one offends someone who's very dear to the Lord, it's of great consequence. There's so many in preparation for the Memorial Day weekend on the topic of lessons from Ramayana. I mean, you'll when you come, you'll hear more and more and more, but it's very serious stuff. One of the explanations of why Sita was sent to the ashram of Valmiki to bear the birth of her two children was because an offense that she made to Lakshman. She's the goddess of fortune, but she offended Lakshman real bad. I mean, badly. She said bad things. She accused him of bad things. They were very hurtful. And it was effective because he felt hurt and he did something, he became confused by that. But she got a reaction, according to one of the explanations of our acharyas, is that was the Sri Vaishnavas make a big deal about this as one of the reasons. It's a reaction to her offense, and it's real stuff. And there's other examples. We were discussing this in Naperville. Dvivida was, along with his brother Minda, were they were sons of the Ashvini Kumaras, and they were very important persons in Ram's entourage. Both them, Dvida and Minda, were in the group that were sent to go in the southerly direction searching for Sita. Their names are mentioned repeatedly in terms of their heroics in the battle. So they were on Ramchandra's side. But searching for the offense that he made, it's not in Ramayana. Apparently it's in Padma Purana. But the offense that Dvivida made was an offense against Lakshman. And because of that, he became an enemy. He became against Krishna and Balaram and fought. There's other examples. There's more and more and more. But, so back to the point that you're bringing up. It's amazing, but it's not amazing because offense is very serious. So we don't have Lakshman or other great personalities that are very, very dear to the Lord. It's right in Rupa Goswami's writings. And Rupa Goswami refers to Dvivida offending Lakshman brought about the result of his losing his status in the Prema and Bhava Bhakti stage. And not only that, then he became subject to bad association. That was the reason that he became subject to Narakasura's bad association, that offense. Otherwise protected. So offense is real stuff. That's part of the lesson of spiritual life. We need the association of devotees. At the same time, we must be very careful to not offend the devotees. And we could say, oh, they're not so advanced, they're not like great personalities, so we can offend them. It's okay. It's not okay. It's very serious business. That's the lesson. Okay. Thank you very much. Prabhupada ki